so much for being here. We have a fun panel about family reunion. So we were all last week, I think it was last week, we were all out and there were a big group of us. It's good to see you. There was a big group of us out in Anaheim for family reunion. For those that don't know family reunion is the largest, well, really it's the largest real estate convention in the industry, but the KW gets together twice a year, once for family reunion and once for mega camp, where typically at family reunion, there's tons of breakouts, there's tons of great information about the market. Gary Keller usually gives a vision speech, state of the company speech. There were some unbelievable speakers. Ed Milet, some of you may know him. He has an awesome podcast. That was honestly probably one of the most impactful speeches I've ever seen in my life. Molly Fletcher, who has 300 and some clients, professional athletes. She's an agent, a professional athlete agent. It's really cool to hear her perspective. I got to see Ryan Holiday, who wrote the book called The Obstacle is the Way, another one called Ego is the Enemy. So there's tons of great content. What we wanted to do is a few of us in this room are going to sit in on a panel. So Trad, Mike, Lynn, and Katie. We're going to hear their perspective of what went on at family reunion, and we're just going to have a cool conversation. How's that sound? Sounds great. Yeah. Awesome. Come on up. Did you guys get the questions I sent?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got them?
Yeah.
I didn't send any questions.
Glad you showed up on time.
Hey, yeah, I was here.
No.
I was told 10:30, by the way.
You weren't here at 10:30.
I mean, 11 or whatever time I showed up. It's really good to see you, though. Your beard looks really good. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I tried to grow one. It was horrible. So enough with you. So let's just have a conversation. So number one, we all went out there for a specific reason. So why don't let's just go down the row. What was your intention of going to family reunion? And we'll start over here, Trad. So you got to talk about this from the Zooms.
All right. Did I break it? No. So my intention was to network more than really go to stuff. And I did go to certain things. I went to the big talks with Gary, Molly, and Ed Milet. That was good. And I went to a couple breakouts as well. But my sole focus was to meet agents either that I'd already worked with or that I wanted to work with, and just connect with them on a deeper level. It wasn't so much numbers as it was a deeper connection. And I actually roomed with one of the guys I wanted to talk with, which worked out great because we could kind of BS in the morning and at night. Don't break it.
Similar to Trad, I think my reason for going to family reunion is the same thing, right? Like this year was my 12th family reunion, and so there are lots of people I've met over the years. Like Trad, there are lots of people that I want to meet, but I found that this event and Mega Camp are like my two opportunities every year to get what I consider to be my board of directors, which are like agents that I've gotten to know over the years that I respect, who pay attention to my business throughout the year, like for them to really sit me down and like say, these are the things we've noticed that seem to be working for you. These are the things that we notice that you might be lacking in. And then, we kind of discuss like what we can do to get me to another level. Yeah.
Do I have to press anything? Okay.
No, 'cause I didn't press.
Okay. So our biggest takeaway with me going, I'm a director of operations, and I feel like in our offices, our roles are kind of secluded in a sense. And so getting to go meet all these other people in my role on teams our size, bigger, smaller, and just learn how we can do things better.
For me, not far off from the first two guys, and that I got to meet a lot more people and add people into my referral database and meet with people that I have had referrals from, which is always a blessing. But I also wanted to hear what Gary thought was going to happen over the next year. Just kind of curious about no direction really. I mean, what's happening now we weren't expecting. So I wanted to kind of hear what he had to say about that. And then I really loved the fact that there was so many panels and so many presentations about wealth building for us.
That's a really cool pivot. There's a lot of conversation about wealth building now. There's how to build your net worth and how to think about cash flow is different. What was interesting, there was a lot of similarity around connection, right? And if we think about the concept of business today, I believe in digitally based, physically enhanced. And what's really cool is that physically enhanced piece, the way that this group is thinking about it from the standpoint of a board of directors and referral partners and collaboration with different directors of ops, this infrastructure is so large. When we're able to dive in at a really large level and at a more than just our local level or regional level, big things can happen. So what were maybe 2 or 3 of your top takeaways from what you heard?
I would say the biggest takeaway, I was looking through my notes and highlighting stuff, relationships came up a lot, not just for like referral partners, but also relationships with your clients. So I went to a couple luxury events, and the experience they were talking about throughout the transaction needed to be more relational than transactional, which I kind of already knew, but it was good to hear it again. And then, the other takeaway, there was a couple others, but there was one line that I can't remember it off the top of my head right now. You have to come back to me, but it was good. It was very impactful, and I can't remember it, but I got it.
Because Molly Fletcher talked a lot about how how she felt really transactional at one point in her business, and she realized that what that meant to her was she was just getting a deal done, but not being the true fiduciary.
Yeah, and the one thing that she said that was kind of not mind blowing, but it was very on point, was that she's working with the husband who is either the baseball player or the tennis player or whatever, and she would bring the wife in because they're making this big move. The husband's getting traded or whatever, and she would go and talk directly with the wife and have that relationship already set in place so that she could have that conversation with the wife, even if it's not an option whether they're moving or not. Go ahead and get that in the mindset of the wife so that she's not totally, out of bounds on it or whatever. So
this idea of building relationships with all those impacted as compared to just the one that in this particular situation is getting traded or that the event is happening to, right?
yes.
Anything else? Molly said something too, step into the challenge, be intentional about it. That wasn't the one I'm thinking of. Y'all can come back to me. I'll find it. But that was good too. Molly's talk was really good, and Ed's was, like you said, I think I talked to another guy, and between me and him, I think we cried enough for the rest of the year. Yeah. It was wild. It was an emotional role. Very. There you go. 1 minute you laugh, the next minute you're crying. It was one of the most impactful. What about you, Mike?
So I think the 2 biggest takeaways for me were one that came from Gary and Molly in relation to the things that the people who are most successful do. And when you start talking to people who've reached the summit of whatever it is that they do, like everything that they say about how they got there is pretty much the same, right? Like there aren't very many different ways. There are ways, I think, to get near the top, right? But like to make it to the top, it sounds the same for everybody. So that was kind of a big one for me, because I think we get to a point where we have success, we reach a certain level, and then we think we're supposed to start doing some things differently. So that just reminded me that doesn't need to happen. And I think the second thing for me that I heard a lot of was consistency. And as I was talking to a couple of the people who are on that board of directors that I talked about, who are some of the top agents in the company, they were like, Mike, one thing we notice about you is that you're not consistent. And so like for a minute I had to I was like, you're not talking to me, right? But they were like, you got to realize that consistency beats talent, luck, good intentions, and sometimes even quality. And so like that, I guess that was the thing for me, because in my mind, I always feel like anything I put out has to be top quality or it doesn't get put out, which leads to the inconsistency. And then sometimes I think that my good intentions might like make up for some of that. And they were like, none of that stuff matters, like be consistent. So like that was a big one for me. Yeah, that. Well, you just repeated it. So yeah.
sure you heard
And
that.
it's fun because I also heard Gary Keller quote. He said, "I'd rather trade excitement for success. Dealing with the boredom of consistency is paramount." And I thought that was really, really interesting. This idea of trading excitement for success. I think we all do it, right? And as compared to just doing the boring, consistent action that we know leads to success. So how do we balance that? Having good people in your corner is probably one way.
All right, I had three. The first one was do more of what you love. Just find new people to do it with instead of like trying to reinvent the wheel all the time. And keep doing what you love. Just find new people. And then the other was don't hire out of pain. And then third was fail forward.
And then there's those of us not quite so that way. So just two of mine. One of them was from Molly, and when she was asked the question, what's the difference between a good athlete, a super good athlete, and a great athlete, one that's like, or a coach even. And she said they learn to fail faster and pivot quicker. So in other words, they failed, they don't dwell on the failure, they figure out how to turn that into the next success. And then Ed's one more day, just one more day. And he that goes back to the boredom, doing the same thing every day and every day. And he said, you just have to get through one more day. And it was a whole different thing for him. There were many things, both work and personal, that he used the one more day, but both were very impactful for me.
Yeah, talk more to the one more day, because I remember him saying, he said, I've never done 8 reps of bench press. I've always just done one more. I've never run 15 miles. I've always just run one more.
Yeah.
And how does that, in hearing that, how did that apply?
So, we're going through a bunch of transition in our place right these days. So it's just a matter of, you have to do all the work and you have to just get through today. I don't have to worry about that next week I've got something else coming up, or I need 17 appointments tomorrow. I need to get through today, do the actions that I need to do today, and tomorrow's another day. And if I do what I need to do today, tomorrow the load will be a little lighter. So just to stick with it for one more day and not to get disappointed by whatever happened, but just hang in there. And the one thing that he referred to at first was with his father, who was an alcoholic. And he said his dad got sober for him, and he told him that. And he said, why? He said, Dad, are you going to be sober forever now? And his dad goes, I don't know, son. He said, but I've gotten through one more day. And that was how he brought it up. And then he talked about it, how it's related in a lot of different things, both work and his personal.
Yeah. The conversation with him around one more day, it transcended business.
Right.
It was all encompassing from a life perspective.
Yep.
Business, personal, the whole 9 yards.
Workout, whatever.
I loved that, how he said, I'm not going to be sober for the rest of my life. I'm going to just be sober for the rest of the day. One more day, one more step at a time.
And he was sober for the rest of his life. He was, yeah.
Man, it was a really cool story.
Yeah, I think when you try to bite off too much, if you try to bite off too much, it's very hard to chew it. But if you just look at it a little piece at a time, it's not so bad. Same concept.
Thank you. And reading this, it kind of hit me again. If I'm not in pursuit of my dreams, then I'm neglecting my kids. Which I was like, God, that's brutal. But it was good because,
Do you remember some of the examples? Like, what would be that concept? Do you remember it?
It was basically just talking about, like, if I'm not going after either, whether it's my dreams as far as business, personal, whatever, if I have a workout goal, if I'm not excelling at what I'm aiming for, then I'm neglecting my kids because they're looking at me and modeling after me. So if I'm sitting around on the couch all day long eating bonbons, then they think that's cool and that's good to do. And that ain't how I want them to live their lives. It's not how I'm going to live mine. So it was basically just knowing that. And it's funny because when I was growing up, I was the oldest of all the grandkids. So my aunts and uncles would be like, all right, you're setting the precedent for all the kids. I'm like, oh, hell no. Do not have your kids watch me because I don't want that pressure. That's not my job. Your job, you're the parent. But now I look back on it and go, okay, well, I've been in this position for my whole life. And it related to leadership as well. But with kids, it was even more so because it was just like they're watching everything you do and modeling after that. So like if you lose your temper, they're going to think that's cool. And I don't want my girls to be married to a guy that's going to go crazy on them, you know? So it's just all these things that you're like, shit, now I got one more thing I got to be cognizant of. And it was good though. It hit hard.
What would you say was most surprising for you in some of the content or just the experience you've had?
This is gonna be a funny one, but I didn't realize that the Hilton was a nightclub. They had a DJ until 2 a.m. I think Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. And I'm really glad I didn't stay at the Hilton. I was there 2 of the 4 nights, but I didn't stay there, so I could go home. They had it Monday too. I think I was there Monday. Yeah, I think I was there Monday. The days kind of got confusing. Outside of that, I don't know that there was really anything super surprising. There's a lot of interesting conversations, and the luxury events. This was the first time I think I was able to get into luxury stuff. And one of the things that they said in there is it doesn't matter what car you drive, doesn't matter what clothes you wear, doesn't matter what kind of jewelry you have. It's all about the connection and the relationship you have with your client. And I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I had a doctor client and I was driving a 97 F350. He goes, is that paid for? I was like, sure is. He was like, you're smarter than 90% of the agents out there because they've got Lexuses and all this other crap that they have a payment on. And if they have a bad month or a bad year, they're going to lose that car. I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to be fine. That was like 8-10 cars ago. So.
And my next one to that too. He was talking about.
And Uzi.
Yeah, he bought this. It was a kid car.
Mercedes.
Yeah,
It was a Mercedes kid car, a LeBaron.
Right, a LeBaron.
Yeah.
So with the body of a Mercedes Benz on top of this Chrysler.
Yep.
And if you pulled up to the stoplight too fast, the headlight was Velcroed on, so you go behind it. We paid $6,000 for this thing. We drove it for what, 6 years?
6 years.
6 years, going to all these appointments. He thought he needed this car so that he could look the part, even though it was a Chrysler. And you could tell, and it was really funny listening to him.
Oh yeah, it had a back seat, and the SL does not have a back seat.
No. Pretty funny. How about you? What surprised you most about the content?
Again, it's been 12 for me, so I don't know if anything surprised me. I think the one thing I'm reminded of every year, like we hear a lot of talk about all of our problems being fixed with a person, a system, or a tool. And I think I'm reminded every year when I go to family reunion, like all of the highest level people, tools, and systems that we have within the company. So like, you know, for instance, you and Joseph and kind of the panel discussion that you guys had, like I was like, wow, like we got people that we see every day, that we hear every day that are like top people in the company, right? Like that, I think when we're here, well, when
I know. I'm still waiting to be uninvited to that. Legit.
but I think when we're here, we take it for granted, right? So just to be there and realize that, okay, the same things I hear in Charleston, I hear from the other people that I look up to, right? I'm like, so obviously these guys kind of sort of know what they're talking about. So I think that's the biggest reminder for me. Just that, like, again, we have the people, the systems, and the tools that we need to be successful.
We'll go through right after this. Throw up areas of 5, 1, half. What was it? Half the steel, that's what- Yeah. I'm gonna throw these 5 on half. And one of them is this one. So just I love that.
So one of the things I thought was most interesting or kind of surprising, I was at a YP event and just talking at a brewery with someone and super humble, wearing like a hoodie and sweatpants, you know, and all these other people are dressed as nice as can be, trying to impress everyone. And this guy and I just like kept talking. I was like, oh, he's really cool. Followed him on social media. He closed over 500 units on this team. Like, I mean, his team is crushing it, making it millions, and you would have never guessed it. So taking away, you never know who you're speaking with, and you never know what someone else has that they can share and help you grow, which I thought was really cool.
Two things really surprising but delighted was when Gary did his presentation and he talked about the units are going to be down and showed all the graphs, and that's what we were expecting. And then he ended at the very end showing that while unit count will be down, volume will be up. So our income should maintain, which I thought was, I had not heard that before. And then just the focus on relationships, how much more each presentation panel, no matter what I went to, was focused on relationships, not the cold calling, or that really wasn't mentioned at all. So
I got one more thing that I guess was kind of surprising. So there are two pretty successful, very successful agents who had left KW, and at family reunion it was announced today that they came back to KW. And so for the people who've been around for a little while, who kind of sort of know my story, like I tried to leave twice. And one of those times, somebody who's in this room I talked to, and she was my reason for coming back to KW. So Maggie, thank you for that. But shortly after we had that conversation, is when I attended my first family reunion, right? So it's when I was able to like see all the stuff we're talking about for the first time and realize just like how different we are from any other company. But to see people like, 12 years later, who sold thousands of houses in a year and left thinking something else was better, and then decided that, wait a minute, like there is nothing better than this, I need to go back, like was kind of cool for me. So.
Yeah, I love that. It was really interesting listening to their reason why it all had to do with relationship and community and infrastructure.
Culture.
Right, culture. It was really interesting. So what would you say, maybe one or two things that you're most excited to implement based on the information or content that you heard, or relationships?
I think the biggest thing for me would be the making sure I'm not neglecting my children. And I say it kind of jokingly because I don't think that I neglect my children, but getting more intentional with the goals that I'm setting. So whether that's the gym or units or business or whatever, just being more intentional about it. And then the other thing that I didn't mention, but I saw in my notes was be where your feet are. Yeah. And I was like, man, you know, you hear these things all the time. It's like, yeah, be present, put your phone down. But I don't know what it was, but the way she said it, or just I heard it different, but I was like, okay, that really hit. So like the two things that I would implement the most would be being more present where I am and listening more while I'm being present. And that's family, business, all of it. And then not neglecting my children. You saw that? I don't know if I can. I will dance. That dancer. What are you most excited to implement or change, maybe based on
What am I most excited to change? I think I've been talking for a long time about leverage, whatever that looks like, virtual assistant, in-person assistant, like all that stuff. And it's just been talk though, right? Like it sounded good. And I think I realize now that I've got to get that stuff in place in order for me to go to another level. And so this morning was actually the beginning of day one of that being in place. I had some other things around me in terms of leverage, and we brought them together this morning. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out over the next 90 days.
Yeah. When you talk leverage, are you talking more in
People.
Okay.
People.
Yeah.
People.
There's two types of leverage,
Yeah.
right? Systems and people. So,
Okay, so mine are a little more business oriented. One I thought was really cool. So we have a medium-sized team. And then whenever we do client events, we're really focusing on this year. We always struggle to figure out when we have certain numbers who we should invite. And one of the panels I went to said that every deal you do or in your database, you should have a column. And every time that person gives you a sale, whether it's a referral or whatever, you put a dollar sign. And so when you're looking for your top 50 VIP, you can sort it in that order. So I thought that was really cool instead of just trying to think. And then the other, so I had two more, sorry. The other one was pour into your vendors, like love on them. We don't do it enough, I feel. And so I think that's really big. You never know who the plumber you're using is going to go into what house. So really leveraging that out. And then lastly, we do a good job, I feel like, at client events, but we don't really give back to the community. And so I told Joseph, like, one cool thing is there's a market center in Florida, and their market center does charity events together. So if you're an individual agent or just a team, you have like a source to kind of help and guide you through it. So just giving back to the community.
For me, one of the things that we have on our to-do list in the next 3 months is a reverse bold, of which I've never done one. Okay, does everybody know? Does everybody know what a bold one? Does everybody know what a bold 100 is? Yes, yes. It's when you make, if you go to bold, and it's coming with Tammy, who's amazing. Yeah, she's amazing. I love her. Anyway, they will, if you make 100 contacts in one day, that's called a bold 100, and it's been around for years, right? People would go stand in front of Harris Teeter and pass out cards times 100 and get business from it. It's amazing. So as time has gone on and it's a little harder to call people that don't want you to call them, they started doing something called a reverse bold 100, which is you pump it up. And in our case, we're going to give away a pizza oven, and we're going to try to get all of our database and anybody from social media to call in for an opportunity to win the pizza oven. Anyway, I went to one of the presentations about how to do events, and one person taught solely on a reverse bold 100 that she's had super success with, like 600 and 800 people calling in each time. And so she pretty much gave the whole playbook. So I felt like that was a true win, is to be able to walk away with the way to use that. So.
It was really cool. They had another thing they rolled out was a playbook for, and they did this at Mega Camp, but
Oh,
they
yeah.
10 times it again. This playbook, and
Yes.
everybody will get a copy of it after the TV. But this playbook that says, like, I want to run an open house. Well, here's some of the most successful agents that have run an open house, and here's exactly like written down steps as to how they do it.
Yep.
Here are the email templates for newsletters. And there's 3, 4, 5 examples, and then how you can leverage technology to build this thing.
And I'm just going to go back to when you talked about, was it you that talked about Ken and the other lady from Florida that came back? Whoever it was that talked about that. Part of the reason I think that they came back is just that, like, we are by far the biggest sharers of information. Like, everyone talks about it, rip off and repeat. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. I can use her playbook and my market center and be just as successful as she was. I don't need it to be perfect. I'm just kidding. It's about, like, not making, it doesn't need to be perfect. And my people are no different than her people. Like, we get caught up, I feel like, as agents, feeling like, well, my people want to hear it a certain way. Well, your people want to hear. It's not necessarily a certain way. So anyway, this is good.
I heard a quote a couple of weeks ago. It was perfect. Imperfect action always beats perfect reaction. And I think everybody's challenged with analysis or paralysis by analysis, right? And it's always something. We're always looking to be perfect. We're always looking to put the best product, the best communication out to our people as we're capable of. And like Lynn said, we just need to do it.
Another coach that I have that's not within Keller Williams, he's just more of a personal coach. He said you can have perfection or success, but you cannot have both.
So what's one or two things that you just want to leave the group with? One piece of advice, one thing that maybe you heard that really stuck out? I know we did ahas, but what's one last thing you want to leave the group with?
I mean, I know we've kind of talked about this already, but being consistent in all that you do. So I was, as Joseph mentioned, I was on a panel for TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. And a lot of the people that had questions were like, when do you post? How often do you post? And everybody was just like, just post. Stop thinking about what you're going to do, how. And I had a couple good conversations in DMs afterwards because I had a handful of people start following me. And there was one guy in particular, he was a musician. He was in Nashville. He had 2 separate Instagram accounts, and they were under 2 different names. And I was like, that's kind of weird. I was like, so what's up with the 2 different names? And he's like, well, legally I can't use this name for my music because somebody else already has it. I don't know. I was like, well, then why don't you just have, because his business page was nothing but open house. It was nothing but open houses. I was like, did any of these close? I'm like, there's like 8 or 9 open houses. I'm like, great, you did the open house, but I mean, did you get them under contract? He was like, oh, that's a good point. I was like, yeah. I was like, why don't you use the music and you can still have it under a different name, but just paste it into your business. And then you can do, if I had musical talent, I would do so many spoofs on real estate. Yeah, but really poorly. Like he actually is talented. So it was stuff like that and just being consistent with what you do. That's the biggest thing.
Sticking with the consistency theme, I was talking to Evan earlier just about like all the different ways we can generate business, right? And at Family Reunion, I don't know, there were hundreds of breakouts on hundreds of different ways to generate business. The reality is they all work. It's just that the people who have success for them do them more consistently than others. So it all goes back to doing whatever your thing is consistently.
Mine is basically to keep culture. People leave you for the same reason they join you. So keeping your culture and just making sure that everyone's loved on. And because the more you love on your people, the more they'll do for you.
Mine is if you are not doing something currently that makes you mailbox money, that you get online, you watch all of those wealth seminars that we had at Family Reunion and jump into it some way. I'm an old lady and I wish to God somebody had told me that when I was 40, my picture would look so completely different. So I would say if you're not doing that, get on there, figure out how you can do it. Some of it you can do without any cash in your pocket. So don't let that be a deterrent. Get on there, figure out what you can do and figure out your first opportunity for mailbox money.
He said there's an arrogance and procrastinating. Oh, jeez. No, you're so tall.
I'm taller than you.
Yeah. So there's an arrogance and procrastination. It is assuming you have tomorrow. And that I heard that by Ryan Holiday at the CEO Mastermind. And that became a common theme almost through all of Family Reunion. This Ed Milet, Molly Fletcher talked about it. Just do, right? Just get into action and do it, because maybe tomorrow, God forbid, you don't have it, right? And what's stopping you today, right? Why wait? So let's give this group a hand. Thank you so much. All right, so 10 minutes before lunch, and we're gonna go through the 5. Hey, Joseph, how you doing? We're gonna go through the 5 unhackable truths. Not everybody had an opportunity to be in this mastermind, and it was Gary Keller got up there and he was talking about put this on. Put it over here. So he was talking about he was waking up in the morning and he had this whole idea that he was going to go and talk about X, Y, and Z. However, as he was sitting there, he asked himself a question. He said, like, what would be more valuable? And what are truths about being successful or life in general that everybody tries to hack and make easier when in reality, they're not hackable at all? And so he laid out 5 unhackable truths, and I'm going to give them to you today. Right after he did this, he had Ryan Holiday come up. And I thought it was really cool how, again, Ryan Holiday wrote the book, Ego is the Enemy. I think his first book was Obstacle is the Way. If you've never read The Obstacle is the Way, go get that book, or I'll buy it for you because it was that impactful or justful. And it changed my life in 2019. It was unbelievable. And in that book, Ryan Holiday gives 3 ways. It's Stoicism. Has anybody heard of Stoicism? It's this idea that we're in control, right, of what we're in control of, and it's okay to not get all caught up in the uncontrollable, and we decide how we perceive things in life, right? There's always obstacles in front of us. Life is unexpected. Like, there are things that get thrown our way, and it's okay. How we perceive that advice, so that's the number one thing. How we perceive an event determines how we take action around it, right? So the number one thing in overcoming or changing an obstacle to an opportunity, right, is perception. How do we perceive it? The number 2 aspect of how we get over an obstacle and change it to an opportunity is action, right? What's the action that we're taking? Regardless of how hard it feels, right? He gave an example of Thomas Edison, and which was epic. And I'll get to that in 1 second, but the third was will, right? And this example of Thomas Edison kind of pairs action and will together. We all know Thomas Edison and the light bulb and all that stuff, and there's 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb or whatever, but Ryan Holiday got really into actually the challenges of making a light bulb. It's like, not only did you have to find a small enough piece of glass or a bulb, right, but you had to find the filament that would last 24 hours or longer, right? So he tried all these different filaments. And then once he figured that out, he had to go and figure out how to get electricity to it in whatever year this was. It was a long time ago, right? And he did all those things. And then he gets woken up in the morning, right? This is me not knowing. He gets woken up in the morning by maybe his wife or whoever, and the factory's burning down. This is his life work. His life's work is getting burnt to the ground. They all run to the factory, and this thing is engulfed in flames. And his son's standing next to him, and his son looks over, and he's devastated. He's so sad. Dad, this is terrible, blah, blah, blah. Thomas Edison looked at him, and he said, go get your mother and all her friends. This is the greatest fire you'll ever see in your life. I thought that was just the coolest thing. Imagine having that perception on all the crap that happens around you, being so confident in being able to control what you can control and be okay with the uncontrollable, and then know in your heart that you're going to be able to take the action to go and make it regardless of the circumstances around you, right? Go and get your mother and all of her friends, because this is the biggest fire you'll ever see in your life. That's just epic to me. So with that theme of like, look, it's hard, just take a step. He goes through these 5 unhackable truths. So the number one thing, the first unhackable truth is, the closer you are to the truth, the simpler things get, right? He said, all successful people, I think Mike or Trad, somebody said on the panel, all successful people sound the same, right? It's because they're okay with the boring crap. There are 6 reasons that typically we quit, right? And it's overwhelm, it's negative outside influence, negative inside influence, boredom results, and I can't think of the 6th, but boredom is what always gets me. I'll think of the 6th in a minute. But so what was interesting to that, though, is the simplicity of just getting into action, and the simplicity of what success takes is, we all know what it is, right? And it's always consistency, and it's always boredom. He also said, too many people get bored with simplicity, so we try to complicate life, or we look for a harder answer because it seems to us too easy. Life in general is very complicated, but success lies in the simple. So what can we do to get back to the simple? Is it more difficult to take action around simple things or complex things? Say simple. So why do we always complicate? There's usually just one answer to move forward for us based on what we can control, right? So Number one, the closer you are to the truth, the simpler things get. What would completely change your business from where it is today to where you want it to be tomorrow? What's one thing that would completely change it that none of us actually want to do every day because it's boring and annoying? Action in what? Making new friends, right? Or lead generation would be the answer. And you're completely right, Camille. It's just lead generate. If everyone in this room spent 3 hours a day lead generating in whatever way they make new friends, it does not mean cold calling. It doesn't mean calling FISBOs. It doesn't mean calling people that don't want to talk to you. For me, it would mean go play golf every day with 2 people I don't know. Hannah's shaking her head, but I would do it, right? Because I could play 50 rounds of golf and I could add 200 people to my database in a year. That's epic. So that's 20 homes if you convert at a high level. So it is simply staying consistent with talking to people, right? And it would change our lives, but we don't do it. What stops us? We complicate it. We say it's too easy to do that, right? Number 2, to change your life, you have to change your identity. That one shook me. To change your life, you have to change your identity. I'll draw the picture he drew because it makes no sense. And it's just funny to me. He drew 2 circles, right? He said, this is one person and this is another, right? So this is who you want to be and who you intend to be, but this is who you are today, right? And the way that he put it, he said, most of the time we're trying to be this person, but we aren't truly that person. What do you have to do in your life, and how do you have to change your identity of who you believe you are to be the person you want to be, instead of just being this person and acting like this person? Does that make sense? It was impactful. Who do I have to become, and what do I have to do on a daily basis? We've talked so much about that graphic where everything is powered by a big why, and it's our thinking, the way in which we think about our big why and the accomplishment of that big why then drives our behavior. And our behavior creates our habits. How many days is a habit created in? 66. We're reading the one thing. 66 days. And then our habits drive the relationships that are in our life, right? Let's just call a spade a spade. Successful people hang out with successful people. Why is that? Because their actions make other people want to go and hang out with them, that drives then a bigger result, or the result that they want. And if we don't like the result, we have to go back to our thinking, right? About who we are. Because who we are, my dad used to say to us growing up, he said, your thoughts become your words become your actions become your character, and your character becomes your legacy. If I go back to this and I say, this is who I am, and this is who I want to be, and I act like this person sometimes, but truly I'm this person, what do I have to change in my thinking, my behavior, my habits, and the people around me to truly be this person over here, right? So number 2, to change your life, you have to change your identity. Epic. Number 3, diluted focus results in diluted results. I'll say it again because there's a lot of the same word in there, and I got confused reading it because it's chicken scratch and I can't actually read what I write. Diluted focus results in diluted results. That was nuts, right? We hear in bold, what you focus on expands. Have you ever been driving down the road and there's like road work going on over here, and you're looking at the road work and the cones and say, don't go over there, and then all of a sudden you realize that you're way too close to the cones? Does that only happen to me? Yeah, right? It's a bad thing when it happens, right? It's like, oh boy. It's what you focus on expands, right? When we focus, diluted focus results in diluted results. So he drew this, and I loved this. Joseph and I talked a lot about this actually, because it hit us different. He drew what's that called? A domino, right? You got one domino. That's a square, whatever. I know it's supposed to be a rectangle, but I'll do it next. I'm not the best. 3. That's not it. Hey, thank you. Who was that? That was great. Thanks for the help. So most of the time, he talked about it in this way, because this was really interesting. He talked about it. He said most of the time we line things up in a linear fashion, when in reality we should stack them so that we're taking everything and building on it, as compared to taking our focus and moving it to something else. He talked about this with big teams. Like, I build my team, right? And then I say, now I'm starting to move out of production. I'm gonna go build a mortgage company. But I don't do it simultaneously, or I don't do it and stack it on my business. I go and put all my focus over here, and I don't correlate one thing to the next. Oh, so you have a couple of things. You only have 4 things to work with. You've got you and what you're building. As you go and you build and you stay consistent, then you're going to have money. So that's your money, right? The money that you created, most likely through active income, through working. My dad used to call it trading your hours for dollars. He said, you don't want to trade your hours for dollars forever, because it's no way to live. And then you're just working for money as compared to having money work for you. I talk about my dad a lot because he was very influential in my life, obviously. So once we have you and once we have money, when we agree that there's always a cap on what we can do by ourselves, right? This is entrepreneurial to purposeful, E to P, right? What do I have? Once I hit a ceiling, then I have to find something else. I have to add systems, tools, people, and models. Next, it's other people. We've all heard this concept of other people and leverage. And then lastly, we've got other, I'm just gonna write others money. And most of the time, those that dilute those that dilute their focus and get diluted results, right? They look at this in a linear fashion. But though what we want to do, and now there's a picture, and it's going to be really hard for me to draw because I'm not an artist, but I drew it in my book, but it's horrible. What we want to do is we want to think of it like this, right? This one's the 2, this one's the 3, this one's the 4. We want to think of it in this fashion, right? How do I take what I'm currently doing as myself, my money, other people, and other people's money? How do I stack them instead of have them all separated and linear? Does that make sense? So number 4, this was hands down my favorite. The key to building a big business is to get there first and block out the others. This was epic. I loved every second of this one. The key to building a big business is to get there first and block out the others. All right, I'm done. Food's back there. So the way to look at it, he drew a tree. Oh goodness, Maggie's gonna make fun of my tree. There's leaves on here. Here's the leaves, right? This is great. Does everybody like my tree? Thanks. I'm looking for positive reinforcement here. This is important, right? Thank you. I worked really hard on that. So get there first and block out the others. When we think about like a tree line, or we think about a forest, right? We've all seen it. You've got this one really big tree, and then all next to it's all these small saplings, right? How come? It's because that tree got there first. It took all the nutrients out of the ground, built real big, or grew real big, and then it grew these branches. And from there, put a bunch of leaves on it. And it blocked out the sun. So not only did it take the nutrients to get up to as big as it is, then it protected itself, put big branches out, put some leaves on it, and blocked out the sun from the others. But then a hurricane comes through, and what happens? You lose these, you lose a couple of these. And then what does the forest start to look like? Well, then you've got this guy that kind of grows up and puts a little bit of trees. You grow this guy up, puts a little bit of tree, right? And it starts to grow out. And the first tree lost its advantage, right? Because it wasn't built on a strong enough foundation to last, and it didn't adapt fast enough. The incumbent is always the most fragile, because the incumbent is usually fighting for the status quo. What I love about Keller Williams is, and Gary Keller's vision is he's always fighting to change the status quo, even though he's the incumbent, right? The #1 real estate brokerage in the world from a units and agent count standpoint, volume. So he's the incumbent. Yet they're always changing things. They're always fighting for what's next, trying to skate to where the puck is going. Why? To protect the real estate agent, right? And grow these branches and leaves even bigger so that everybody can build what they want within his umbrella, right? It's a really cool thing. So get there first, block out the others. And then lastly, probably most importantly, relationships that matter are a daily practice. Relationships that matter are a daily practice. I'll just read some of my notes. This one was a good one for me. He said, I woke up with the intention to earn the right to have this relationship another day. Earlier, I think it was Molly Fletcher. Let me go to that page. I think Molly Fletcher said, he said, where's Molly? Behave in a way that shows people their relationship matters to you. That's what Molly Fletcher said. And it correlated with what Gary talked about with relationships that matter or a daily perspective. I wake up every day with the intention to earn the right to have this relationship another day, right? Which was absolutely epic to me. So there's your 5 unhackable truths. Number 1, the closer you are to the truth, the simpler things get. Number 2, to change your life, you have to change your identity. Number 3, diluted focus results in diluted results. Number 4, the key to building a big business is to get there first and block out the others. And number 5, relationships that matter are a daily practice. Any ahas? Give me 2 ahas. And then we'll have lunch and then we'll get into the team meeting. Vin, you suck. Oh, hey, Patty. Yes. It should, you want to do this. What am I doing today that helps? Like I heard this, what is it that I love to do that's going to generate what I'm already, more business or more satisfaction and fulfillment in something that I'm already doing, right? So think lead generation, right? What is it that I currently love to do, right? That if I do that and think about it different in a way that helps me build my business over here, right? That I can do that more, right? So again, we always talk lead generation. We talk about, I need to cold call. I need to call more people. I need to call through my database. Yeah, sure. It's really hard to sell a house without talking to somebody. Like, right? I would say, has anybody ever sold a house and never talked to them? No, probably not. Right? So I know that I have to do that, but how do I do it? And how do I make new friends in a way in something that I'm already doing that I love to do, that I want to do more? I was talking to somebody one day and they said, I love to shop and I love to go to happy hours, or like, I love to go to cool new restaurants and eat. I said, cool, how do you do that? Well, what happens if I invited my entire database once a month to go shop with me at a cool boutique where I negotiated, and somebody's mentioned vendors, right? I think Katie said, build bigger relationships with vendors. How do I go and be able to focus on me and do things that I love, which is shop and eat, right? And do that to create more money for myself and my business. Well, I could invite my database. I could negotiate a maybe 25% discount at the boutique downtown that I love to go to, right next to the restaurant that I love. And it's, hey, meet me at the restaurant for a quick happy hour. We'll all grab a drink and then we're going to go shop together. And by the way, because you're in my world, so-and-so owner of boutique, right, of cute little boutique, has given everybody in this 2-hour period a 25% discount. What does that do for you? Well, it allows me to go shop and eat. I love to do that. I'm probably going to do it alone, but what happens if I did it with all the people that I really like, that I want to build deeper relationships with? Because relationships matter, and how am I being intentional? Does that make sense, Patty? Yes. Yeah. Yep. Any other questions or ahas? Give me one more. Yeah. Isn't that good? Relationships that matter is a daily practice. And kind of goes back to number 2, right? Like, who am I? How am I showing up? Who do I want to be? Do I want to have those relationships? Some relationships you might not want to have. That's okay. But find them somebody that could be better for them, right? Which then becomes you being intentional about that relationship. It's kind of cool when you think about it that way. Any other ahas? Give me one more. One aha standing between you and food.
I'll give you one.
Thanks, Wendy.
I just keep hearing like a broken record, make good habits and you'll be successful.
Yeah,
And it's incredible how difficult it is.
I love it. Can I ask you a question? What's so, like, if we think about it, what is it that can be so hard about making a new habit?
Desire for freedom.
Yeah.
Desire for not having the monotony.
Yeah, I completely agree, not having the monotony. I believe that I had to change my thinking around this because I'm very time blocked, right? Like, I love time. I like to be intentional with my time. And somebody said to me once, they said, routine creates rhythm. I used to always say, like, this rigidity of a time block, this is pissing me off. I hate it. I'm not free. Like, and freedom is, I'm very autonomous. I like autonomy. I strive for it. Yet I realized that when I didn't have to be rigid all day. When I was really rigid for 3 hours where I had the highest energy, it actually created more flexibility and freedom for me. And when I changed my thinking around that, change your thinking, change your world, my world then opened up. I was able to do more. I protected that time at a higher level, and I stopped thinking that time blocking is rigidity. I started thinking of time blocking as freedom. Does that make sense? Trad, you have something?
So you're talking about holiday earlier. I'm listening to his news book,
Discipline is destiny. Yeah.
and then something I heard in that this morning that is why I thought of it was freedom is the opportunity for discipline.
Yes.
By Dwight Eisenhower.
Freedom is the opportunity for discipline. And to that point, when we create, so this idea of creating habits, back to Wendy's point, we sit there and we say at the beginning of January, I'm going to start working out. This is just the easiest example. I'm going to start working out every day, and I'm going to do it for 7 days a week. Well, what are the chances that in 3 weeks, when I haven't been working out at all, that in 3 weeks after my body is aching, that I'm getting up early, I'm tired as all hell, what are the chances I still go 7 days a week? Just say none. Like maybe 1% chance if you're really cool and really disciplined. However, if I start with just one change and I go 1 day a week, and I did this recently, and I went 1 day a week. I said, you know what? I'm not going to get all, I just went to yoga. My legs are killing me. I can barely stand. Weird, right? It was yoga. And it tells you how out of shape I am. So I'm going to go 1 day a week. And then the following week, I'm going to go twice. And then the following week after that, I'm going to go 3 times. And after that, I'll see how I feel, and I'm going to go 4 times until I get back up to 5 days a week. Does it take longer? Yeah, but it helped me start to build a habit. It wasn't this big, complicated, massive goal. I cut it down, was patient, and I was able to start to implement in a really small way, because really small action leads to really big results. And the discipline that's required once you create a habit becomes less than the discipline required to start a habit. I'll say it again, the discipline needed to create a habit, right, is less, to maintain a habit is less than the discipline needed to create a habit. It's a really important piece. So everybody can eat. We'll get started in about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I don't know. I probably went over. So 20 minutes, and we have an awesome day planned for the team meeting. Food's in the back. Later.
Had found an agent who wanted to do an open house and then like found an opportunity for me to do it just because I had mentioned something to her in passing. So I just wanted to say thanks that she was really looking out for me And I think that's the general culture at KW, which I love. But I want to give Brooke a shout out for that.
Great. Thank you. Give me one more. Hey. I got to come back up here anyway, so it's perfect.
So I am super grateful for my husband at the moment. He has been working so incredibly hard to build up a life for not just himself, but like for our family. He passed his license test for electrical. He's an electrician. He passed his license test. He also passed his master's test. He's also like working on an online bachelor degree for electrical engineering. So it's a lot of hard work that he's been doing. So I'm just really grateful for him and like all the work he's putting in for our family.
Love it. All right. So can't do great things without great people. And we've got Lori and Direct Mortgage coming up. Let's give her a hand. Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you.
Yes, you too. Hello, happy Monday. Wanted to start off the day and just kind of talk about our March events coming up. Let me put this down, sorry. I know I brought it up here. So we've got all of our training put in place for the year. We're going to be doing trainings the first Wednesday and the third Wednesday of every month. The first Wednesday is going to be basic mortgage information. And what I wanted to really do today was just kind of give you a quick glimpse of what we talk about in that basic mortgage class. We go through like a product matrix, talk about the different programs like VA, USDA, that type of stuff, what the down payment requirements are, and a few other small high-level details that can kind of help you with your day-to-day business. We also talk about the process of buying a home when it comes to obtaining a mortgage with it. And we also talk about some seller concessions, stuff like that. Again, I've tried to make sure that the training is geared towards your day-to-day life so that it'll help you in your world. So that's our basics, mortgage basics class. And then our next one for March, our next level class is going to be the 15th. We're going to be going over non-traditional buyers and non-qualified mortgages. These are going to be like your I-10 borrowers, your citizen, non-citizen borrowers, stuff like that. And then just a sneak peek of the upcoming next levels, we've got VA, USDA, SC housing. We'll do specialized income, non-traditional single family homes. That will be like condos, duplexes, stuff like that. And then relocating and buying a new home, and then understanding loan estimates and disclosures up in August. So that's just a sneak peek of some of the trainings that we'll be doing. Again, these trainings, do what? Yeah. So this month will be Mount Pleasant. So we're rotating them each month. It is on the Google shared calendar as well. The location's listed in there as well. So yeah, good question. So again, these classes are really just centered around, it's not selling products or anything like that. It's more about just giving y'all basic knowledge and again, stuff that'll help you in your day-to-day. So, all right. And then in mortgage news, just as a reminder, if you didn't download it last time, Mortgage News Daily is an app that I use religiously. This is the screen that I log on to every day, probably 10 times a day, obviously because I'm in the mortgage business. So it helps me keep an eye on rates to know what's going on. Rates did dip down 2 weeks ago for the first time since I think it was November. They are back up slightly right now. Not slightly, actually. I mean, they're back up to 6.88 average. Just to kind of give you a little insight, and this is what this app has really helped me do a lot. Every day, at the end of the day, there is a analysis of the market that pops up on that home screen. I read that thing every day. 5:30, I'm looking for it to come out so I can understand what's happening. And what's happening right now, as an example, the Fed's goal is for inflation to be at 2% for the whole year. That's their goal. Well, based on the numbers that came out from some of the data in January and February, we're on it was like 4-point-something%. So easy math shows that the trend for the year is that it's up very high right now. The inflation's not going down. Obviously that can change, right? March might come out low again, so that trend will go down, so rates may go back down, but that's just one example of some of the stuff that you'll learn and what's helping to drive the mortgage rates up and down. Okay. Any questions?
All right,
Okay.
So a quick point to that. We have great mortgage partners. We have great partners in general. And a real estate agent is paid for three things: knowledge, advice, and service, right? Knowledge, advice, and service. What's really interesting is we don't have to be the most successful people understand that they're not the end all be all. They don't have to be the person with all of the answers. Yet it's our job as a real estate agent to be the quarterback to finding their answers, right? We're the liaison in that advice and knowledge space and service space. So when we have great partners around us, we know what's going on in the mortgage market we don't have to be an expert though. We have to understand how the mortgage market impacts our clients. We have to understand what's going on in the economy to understand how that's impacting our clients. Yet we don't have to be the one with all the answers in that space. And from a service and knowledge perspective, we can rely on great partners to help us bring great knowledge, service, and advice to our clients. Does that make sense? Knowledge, advice, and service. By the way, knowledge, it's easier to come by because of the internet, right? Where the majority, and they talked a lot about this, where do all of your clients start their search for a house? Online. And what are they getting? They're trying to get information about how much or what's the price of homes in a particular location that they want to live in, right? So they already have access to knowledge, which then means why are commission rates kind of decreasing, right? Why is there compression on commission rates? Because of value. Cost is only an issue in the absence of value. So what do we have to do in advice and service to make up for the fact that we don't have to have as much knowledge because they can get it, right? So knowledge, advice, and service. What else we got?
Thank you. Thank you. On another note, in Bucket Fills, I want to thank Ashley Copeland. It will be her last week this week with us. I know a lot of people already know that, but no need to worry. I will be in the Mount Pleasant office as well. Ashley's made the decision to go back to Ohio, miss her family and friends. But I want to thank you for everything you've done for us, and the support you've provided our agents as well. So on that note, if y'all know someone that is looking for a role, please have them reach out or reach out to me as well. It's going to be an agent services role, more marketing focused. So if you have someone that's looking to get their feet wet or are new to the industry or just career in general, please have them reach out to me or reach out to myself, or you reach out to me as well. So thank you.
Thanks for all you do, Asher. Thanks. Good luck in Ohio. All right. Let's give her another hand. I'm good. All right. So playbook. So we talked about this. It's cool when we have a challenge or something, pretty much any challenge in business, honestly, in my opinion, life can be, I'll get out of them. Take a picture of that thing. But any challenge can be solved with three things: systems, tools, and people, right? Systems are the way in which we do something. Tools create effectiveness and efficiency in that system. And people run the tools and operate the tools that create effectiveness and efficiency in our systems. What's really cool is the way that KW started to look at this about a couple of years ago is they said, what's the challenge and what do our agents want to do? Well, they want to create a better consumer, they want to sell more homes, create a better consumer experience doing it, right? And then they said, well, who's already doing it, right? The greatest minds and the most successful people always say, this is what I want to do. Who's already doing it? Let's go ask them how they do it, right? And then they leverage a model, page 37 of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, right? It's another triangle, model, and then you add creativity, right? And what's really cool is KW has created a bunch of playbooks. This one that we're showing is the code book that shows you, if I want to go and run the best open house, I can go to this particular code book, and we'll have some in the offices as well. I can go to this code book and I can literally look, how do I run an open house? Or how do I generate leads through Facebook? So it says what you do, shows everything that we as agents do, or you as agents. I'm not an agent. How you do it, right? I make calls, voicemail drops, and text messages, create additional users, all these things, right? And then how do I do it? Shows you how to make single calls. I'm probably standing in front of this. Voicemail drops, text messages, but you go down a little further. It'll show things like how do I track and log interactions, right, in our technology. And it gets really granular, right? How do I create marketing material? Let's see if I screw this up. This is the code book. Yeah, if you take a picture of that QR code that I'll put back up, that's called the code book. Yes, that code, but yeah, that QR code will get you right to all of this.
Take you to this. It's the KW code book over here. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Bottom left. Yeah, I know what you're asking now. So like if we click on the open house one, click on that for a sec. Exactly, is a little bit more, but that QR code goes directly to this Google Drive for everybody. So it goes through, it'll show you the misunderstandings. It'll show you, okay, this is how I do an open house, right? I pick the open house. So it gives you all of the steps to run the system most effectively that you want to run. Does that make sense? Do you have more questions? Cool. No. A resounding no. So
Big enough? I can put it up on the side again. I just want to say something really quickly, y'all. Like, this is, because I'm PTSD, you know, put together our operations manual, and I did one for the company. This thing is huge. Like, if you have this, you don't have to come up with anything.
Yep.
I was super impressed when they revealed this. Like, I had to take a look.
It's a great. Go back to the slides. What's cool? We've heard in Bold, which we're going to talk about, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? When we look at our businesses, these things, all this information, we have so much infrastructure, KW. There's so many things that we can dive into, right? You read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book and you go to page 138 about how I can create leads. There are a bunch of things on that page. There's like, what, 40 different mechanisms that I can pull or different levers that I can pull to create leads. It can be overwhelming, right? Ask yourself, what is the biggest challenge that I'm having in my business? Do I have enough leads coming into my business to hit my unit goal? If the answer is no, just stop right there, go to page 138 and find the things you really like to do and just pick one of them and do it. And then second, am I following up with the leads in a automated way and with frequency and intensity? If you're doing that, also move to the next one. If you're not, figure that out through technology. And then lastly, am I creating a consumer experience that's unmatched and putting leads back into my database, right? And if it's no, then go find a system and tool to help with that. So these systems and tools can help us answer those questions. Does that make sense? Cool. All right. So with that said, in 2 minutes, right? 2 minutes? I can't read my watch. In 2 minutes, our regional tech trainer, her name is Sydney Seymour. Just a little bit about Sydney. She has been in KW for, well, she'll tell us how long. I don't know how long. A long time. She's located down in Florida. She is the tech trainer for the Carolinas region. And she's also been traveling around with Mark King, Jason Abrams. Mark King's the president of the company. Jason Abrams, the head of industry with Keller Williams. And Jen Lewis, who I don't totally know what her title is, but she's a rock star and she's really cool and really smart. And she's been talking about technology. She's been talking about the changes in technologies from an industry standpoint, more specifically how Command can help solve problems for agents from the standpoint of, again, selling more houses and creating a better consumer experience for those clients that we're serving. She is a rock star. She was just recognized as the Regional Tech Trainer of the Year for all of KW, right? 800 and some market centers, 40 some regions, 180,000 people, and she was the tech trainer of the year. It's really cool when we look in our region, how many amazing how many people, how many top minds we have access to, right? Like a Stacy Sauls, who runs her few hundred units and big team through Command, or some of these other individuals that we can call and time's up. See you. No, that was perfect because it's 12:30. This means, yeah. So that was perfect. So it's amazing to dive into these people. It really is. So without further ado, Trad has to listen to me for another 30 seconds. So
She is going to be teaching a workshop here March 30th, which is further in the
yeah.
slide.
So yeah, we'll see in the slides. So Sydney is actually coming to Charleston in person. She's coming on the 30th, March 30th, and she's going to be talking all about Command. She's going to be talking about the industry and technology. So this is a must go to. It's at 9. I think it's at 9:30. We'll get the time and the location. But there are other people from other market centers in the region that are coming to this event as well. So when you see the slide, take a picture of that QR code and sign up and register. It's a huge game changer to again have the opportunity to hear from the Regional Tech Trainer of the Year in Sydney. She is a rock star. So when she gets on, let's do this. Yeah, probably. It's like me trying to get on a Zooms. It's the worst. I always have tech problems. She'll be getting on in a second. So give me, well, no, because she's going to get on here. Give me 2 more ahas from some of the things that we learned today. Mortgage news. I love that. There's a lot of changes, right? And we heard it earlier. There's a lot of changes from an interest rate perspective, and there's a lot of uncertainty. Most of the time, when there's uncertainty, human beings like certainty, right? So when there's a lot of uncertainty, we need more knowledge, and we, as a real estate agent, you as a real estate agent, can be that source of knowledge, right? Give me one more. Yeah. Yes. I love that, Patty. Having all that information from the playbooks. Their goal is to make everything easier and simpler, right? And again, if I'm challenged by how do I capture more leads through Facebook, right? I can go to that page in there. It's a one-pager. They always look to make like one-page systems, right? And plans. I can go to there and I can say, oh, these are the things that I have to think about. These are the things that I have to implement. And then I can add my own creativity, right? You're not going to do a model exactly as it's written because you come out looking like Frankenstein. You add your creativity. So we've got Sydney. Can we hear? Can she hear me?
I am here.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Time with us today, and I'm just gonna throw it to you. Tell us who Sydney is. I kind of gave you a little bit of a little bit of an intro, but I'll let you take it. You know yourself better, and we really appreciate having you.
Awesome. Thank you. Nice to see all of you virtually in Charleston. Like Vince mentioned, my name is Sydney Seymour. I have the absolute pleasure of being the regional technology trainer for the Carolinas region. So serving North Carolina, South Carolina, 43 market centers with amazing agents and amazing leadership teams. A labs advisor, I'm a KWU approved instructor, and I've actually been with KW since 2010. So love it here. It's my home, and just excited to spend a little bit of time with you. So I think what we wanted to chat about is just a couple things in Command that maybe have rolled out recently that can help you save time. So I don't know about you, but in any market, probably specifically this market as well, anything that we can do just to make our lives a little bit easier and save some time. And I heard Vince talking about systems and models. So anything that we can do where it's a model and we're adding that to our business, I think just really opens it up for you to be focusing more on what your one thing is. So I am just going to make sure that I am able to, I'm not able to share screen. So if you can just change that for me real quick, that would be awesome. And we are good now. Thank you. Appreciate that. So I'm going to just pull this up, and then if somebody can just give me a thumbs up if you're able to see, it should look like my command screen. Awesome. Thank you for that. So a couple new updates that have really put things right in the front for you is when we first log into Command, you'll notice that we've got leads never contacted. We've got anybody that's recently active. So this is really big. This is anybody that's been recently active either on your Keller Williams consumer website or your Keller Williams Command app. So they might have been searching for properties, they might have been favoriting properties, but you're going to see all of that at a glance, which is really going to save you time and allow you to see, who do I need to be focusing on today? Another thing that they've added that I really love is they've added birthdays. So for those of you that are really getting clear of adding as much data and details to every single contact in Command as possible, make sure that you're adding those birthdays and as well as those home anniversaries, because you're going to see those right on the screen here. This is really mirroring what we see in the Command app, but it's really nice because it's kind of like at a glance, we can see like, who do I really need to be focusing on today? So I really love that we've got this just top of mind on your homepage. The next thing that I want to just chat about, because this is a really, really big, it's honestly like a big feature request that we had and something that's now live. So we know that Gary Keller always talks about that as a real estate agent, you're really running two businesses. So one, we're running the business of real estate, which is essentially lead generation. And then we're running the business of actually selling the properties. And what happens so often is those kind of get a little bit mushed together, and maybe we're focusing less on our lead generation and we're focusing more on saving the deals, which we know has to happen. What we have now through tasks is you have the ability to see, show me all of my tasks of anybody that I need to call or I need to check in with, and then show me all of my tasks that are associated with an opportunity. So maybe I need to focus on the staging, maybe I need to reach out to the inspector, but more of the true real estate transaction tasks. And what's really, really nice is we can come right in here through tasks and we can actually filter really easily. So we can come right over here and we can say, show me any tasks that are linked to a contact. Now that might be a manual task that you created of saying, oh, let me remind myself to call this person in a week. It might be a task that's associated with a smart plan. So if you're using the quarterly call smart plan or anything that has some sort of phone call task in it, I can also say, show me any tasks that are associated with an opportunity. I can even take it a step further and I can come in first thing in the morning and say, show me all of my tasks that are linked to a contact that are phone calls. And then I can easily apply those filters. And I literally have like, here's who you need to call. Here's the last conversation that you had if you're logging all of that through Command. So it takes so much of the guesswork out of it for you. And it really shows you everything that you need to be doing and when you need to be doing it. So that's tasks that was just updated. We call that just an integration of tasks together. And then the other update that I wanted to share, because I think this went a little bit behind the scenes. So what's really, we're going to say nice is that maybe in the market that we're in now, we actually have time to market your property. So you have time to market your listings. You have time to say this went under contract, where like I know in most markets about a year ago or 2 years ago, like we couldn't even hold an open house. We couldn't even create a marketing piece because literally we would enter it into MLS and it was immediately under contract. And that's not necessarily the case right now. So we've made it significantly easier for you to automatically create designs through the Designs applet in Command. So I just went in ahead of time of us chatting and I said that I wanted to create a social media design. And you'll notice that when we go in, we've got this section right over here that's called auto create. And then I've got coming soon, I've got for sale, just listed, open house, and just sold. We'll go through and say that we want to do an open house. And then you'll notice that anything that's associated with an open house is going to pull up right here. So I can say, okay, I like this one. I want to do some sort of story and I want to auto create that. So you'll notice you'll have this auto with a little star right next to it. And then it's going to literally walk you through where I can come in, I can search for any listing. So as long as obviously we have the permission of the listing agent that we're holding the open house for. So I can pick that listing directly through here. Then I can even put when the open house is. So we'll just pretend that we're putting a date here. We'll say that it's from 2 to 4. And then continue. It's going to pull in all of the information of the property. Down here, we have the ability to decide what images we want as that main image for the property. And then I'm just going to hit generate design, and literally in seconds, it's going to create the design or the designs that you would like with all the data, all the details in there that then you can easily download as a JPEG, a PDF, anything to use. So previously, we'd have to search for the listing, we'd have to pull the photos in, we'd have to do all of this stuff. So this is just really the first kind of version of designs within Command, having that autofill feature to save you a ton of time with that. I want to be respectful of time. Do I have time for just like one more little thing that I can share? Yes, awesome. Okay, so this is really big. So thank you for giving me the time. So I want to go in. This is something that just rolled out like last week. And this is available for teams, and this is also available for individual agents. And so I've gone into my settings, and I'm going to go right here into Command settings. And I'm going to go under contacts, and then I'm going to go into lead management. So something that I created in here is a lead rule based off of landing pages. So essentially what you can do now is I can say, okay, here is a rule for landing pages. So a landing page can be something that you have just as a one-off page from your website. A lot of times we see agents using this maybe for open houses. So maybe you're using that as like your digital open house sign-in sheet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say for any leads that come into Command that are associated with a landing page. So I've picked all of the landing pages. I want those leads to automatically be tagged as I just did lead, and I want them to automatically be assigned to a smart plan. So I want you to imagine this workflow that someone comes to your open house. You have a landing page as a virtual or a digital sign-in. They enter their information. We know that that lead information automatically comes into Command. They're tagged as a lead, and the lead source is landing page. What is now new is it will automatically tag them as whatever you see fit. So you could call it open house lead, whatever you'd like. And then it will also automatically assign them to a smart plan. So if you had like a post-closing follow-up smart plan, you could immediately say, deploy this smart plan where the first task could be an email, or it could be a reminder or a text that comes from you. So we're never having to manually create them. Now, this is just for a landing page. We can do that from really any lead source in here. So anything that's flowing into Command, you now have the ability to say, this is what I want them tagged as such, and this is immediately how I want that follow-up strategy to go. So really, really cool stuff. This is really just the first domino that we see of like immediate follow-up of people that are maybe searching on your site or landing pages. So we'll continue to really integrate more stuff here and build that out, which is exciting.
Awesome. Sydney, can you show us smart plans real quick too?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm going to go into smart plans, which is just right over here. It looks like the little checkbox with some tasks there. So when we think of smart plans as a mixture of task reminders for you to actually do something. Think of them as automatic text messages that can go out if you're using Twilio, which is our third-party company. Think of them as emails that can go out. In other platforms, they might be referred to as drip campaigns or things like that. My biggest suggestion with smart plans when I train and consult on this is take some time to sit down and look at your business and look at your 3 buckets of business. We know generally what they are for most agents, but yours might be different. And so what happens sometimes with smart plans is they can get so overwhelming because there are so many smart plans. And so I see a lot of times that agents come in and they're like, oh, I should add this one and that one and this one and that one. I think for us to really like take more territory. Let's think a little bit smaller. So really look at, and maybe just look at like your past 12 months. Where did most of your transactions come from? If you've never done an open house in your real estate career and you don't plan to, you don't need an open house smart plan. If you're really big on internet lead gen and that's one of your top sources, we definitely need to have some sort of smart plan there. And so we can actually search by author name. That's really cool. So if you see agents with Keller Williams that say that they've created a smart plan, you can actually go in and completely use that one. We've got smart plan name, or we've got description. So maybe you are really diving into Facebook leads. Maybe you're running a lot of campaigns. We can come in here and see that we've got all of these different smart plans. This is the easy button. This one triggers a series of calls, text, and emails that cover just over a month. We can actually click right here to see all of the steps and see everything and what that smart plan entails. And then we can even add that smart plan to your library, and then you have the ability to customize it or to just use it exactly as it is. Any tasks that are associated with the smart plan. So for example, if you need to call someone, that's going to show up through the command app. It's also going to show up just under the task applet as well. And you'll be able to manage everything directly through the phone with that as well. So I would think smaller on smart plans rather than just going in and grabbing all of them. If you want to start with two, the two that I always recommend are the monthly neighborhood nurture. That's just a monthly, I almost think of it as a little bit like a newsletter or a monthly what's going on in their neighborhood. It's going to show average sold price, average days on market, list price, all of that. And then also the quarterly call plan. So monthly neighborhood nurture, quarterly call plan. If you did nothing else but that, you'd be touching your database 16 times a year in a really, really automatic, easy way to do that.
That is epic. Thank you so much, Sydney. Yes. I know you have a call coming up. What when are you coming to Charleston? And I guess it's the 30th, and give us real quick a rundown as to what we can expect.
I got to tell you, I really love Charleston. So if I could come there all the time, I would, because it's a really, really beautiful place. But I will be there on the 30th. I'm hosting Shift into Overthrive in Action, which I'm really excited about. This will be our third kind of iteration of it. And so for those of you that maybe went to Shift into Overthrive when we had that with Mark King and myself and Jen Lewis in Charlotte, we talked about during that session that when we look at an agent's business, generally there's three buckets of business. It's usually your SOI, you're getting business from your sphere, open houses, and internet lead gen. What we're going to do into Shift into Overthrive in Action is we're going to actually put together how we can prepare for each of those and follow up for each of those lead sources. So my request to you would be to bring a fully charged laptop, and we're going to actually do workshopping together. So we're going to talk about, okay, I'm really diving into open houses. Here's the things that I need to do to prepare for them. And here's my immediate follow-up. So you're going to actually leave with things completed, with things done, and just ready to rock and roll. So it's 2.5 hours. I promise you it'll be really fun. It won't be just a typical tech class. We'll make it really, really fun, and just spend some time with all of you. And I'm really excited.
Awesome. Sydney, thank you so much. You're a rock star. And by the way, this is the Regional Tech Trainer of the Year for all KW. So let's give her a hand.
Thank you. Couldn't let that go, Vince. Couldn't let that go.
Thank you,
Thank
Sydney.
you all. I appreciate you. It's an honor to work with all of you every day. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.
Awesome. Let's give her another hand. She can't hear us. It's awesome. So one of the sessions that we were at, or that I was in, Gary Keller talks to the top agents every day, multiple times a day, right? I think we all, I talk to a lot of top agents every day, multiple times a day. I think that's how we understand what's going on in the industry. And there was always two conversations, right? And the conversation always came back to leads and technology, right? If we think about this industry, right, there are only 3 companies, by the way, 3 brokerages that are still building their own tech. And it's Compass, Redfin, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say these things, but whatever. I'm not talking bad about any of them. Compass, Redfin, and Keller Williams, right? And why does that matter? Because who controls the data controls the industry. Think about it. Years ago, what were the biggest companies, right? They were industrial companies. They were making manufacturers, right? And then what does it change to? What are the 3 largest companies today? Right? Amazon, Google, Apple. What are all those companies? what really are they? And they're tech companies. In what purpose? They're compiling a ton of information. It's data, right? I heard somebody say, is it the fourth or fifth industrial, or they call it fourth industrial revolution or something like that, is tech and data, right? It's this whole push to data. And by the way, all that data, the more data we have, the more we can learn from it. And then the easier it is for us to provide information, knowledge, and advice. And the reason tech's becomes so important is because it creates effectiveness and efficiency in our business so that we can do more for people in less time, right? And the size of our database is in direct correlation to the size of our business. And as our database grows, it becomes more difficult for us to communicate effectively with people, right? And create those relationships. Technology allows us to do it, which is why Keller Williams has pushed so hard on technology and having a low-cost solution to help agents protect their data, number one, and two, sell more homes and provide a better consumer experience, right? So our intention moving forward is to talk more about the tech, obviously continuing to have conversations about business building, because that's kind of what separates us, yet integrate the tech and how you can use the technology to answer the question of leads and to answer the question of consumer experience to create a bigger business if that's what you choose. Does that make sense? Awesome. So what else do we have? All right. Our favorite, production, right? Production creates culture, not the other way around. Production, that's why we're all here. So let's give a hand. We're gonna rip through these slides. So this is Mount Pleasant, January listings taken, Dave leading the way. Let's give these individuals, these teams a hand. Next slide, keep the clapping going. This is West Ashley, that's epic. Chucktown, way to go, everybody. Listing sold, you take a listing, what happens? You sell it, yeah, this is great. Livian, way to go. Oh, that's the new Livian, way to go. Desiree, yep, back there they are, Desiree Lynn. January listings sold, this is West Ashley, let's give them a hand, this is epic. Closed units for the month of, this is Mount Pleasant for the month of January, let's give them a hand, and West Ashley. Way to go, this is awesome. A lot of units getting sold. All right, this is Mount Pleasant, January individual production. There's no year to date because it's the same. And Jennifer leading the charge, 3.3 million. I think I saw her on the Zooms. So let's give her a hand, and everybody else. I see Warren back there. That's awesome. And the teams in Mount Pleasant, Dave leading the charge, Susie not far behind. Let's give them a hand as well. So cool. And in West Ashley, our individuals, Brian Mack having a heck of a start to the year, 2.7 million. Trad, I see him back there. Let's give all these individuals a hand so far through January. And Chucktown leading the charge. Somebody catch him. Baskin not far behind. Let's give them a hand. Teams. I love that we do this. So this is Greater Charleston. This is everybody. So Jennifer, Brian, Trad, top three. Let's give them a hand, individual agents. And teams. Chucktown Dave and Baskin team. Let's give them a hand. Everybody on the top 10. Congratulations. Oh, this was cool. So this is the region, January top producers. Brian getting into the top 10 for the region. Top teams, Charleston Diggs, John Holton team. Top groups, Chucktown. And top expansion teams, Chucktown and Dave. Let's give them a hand. That's in the entire region. Almost 10,000 agents. So that's pretty cool in the top 10 in those categories. Profit share, 48% of the profits generated at the local level are shared back to the agents that help generate that profit, right? Profit share is a really cool thing. The whole intention of profit share getting built was back in, I guess it was like 80 something, right? There were, Gary Keller went to his ALC and asked a few questions. And one of them was, well, we want to partake in the profits. He said, well, there are no profits to partake in right now. However, let's figure it out. And that's how profit share came into play and into existence. And the original intention of profit share was so that agents had the ability to be at Keller Williams in the largest real estate infrastructure now in the world for completely free, right? By helping to grow the company. And what does that mean, help grow the company? It does not mean recruit, it does not mean attract talent, it doesn't mean any of those things. It means have a conversation with somebody, because this is a relationship business, And when I'm talking to Evan and I realize, because I'm doing a great transaction with him, and I start to build a relationship with him and realize he has a challenge in hiring his first administrative assistant, right? Well, we have a really cool class, and I went to that class a few times, and maybe it would help him if he went to that class and learned how to go through the career visioning process and hire the best administrative assistant he could ever hire, right? So I could invite him to that class. I'm listening to a challenge and then helping him with our infrastructure. Does it mean I'm recruiting him? No, not at all. It means I'm leading with help. And the easiest way to do that is through training, because everybody has a gap in their business, and training can be the solution for that, right? And then if it makes sense to connect them with anybody on the leadership team, myself, Ben, Winnie, our director of growth, anybody, right? Joseph, connect them with anybody. And we sit down and have that exact same conversation. If it makes sense to join KW and they go into your downline, awesome. You just created cash flow. You just created passive income, right? With no risk and no money out of your pocket, which I have a couple of other investments, and all of those took a lot of time. They took a lot of money, and they took a lot of risk and a lot of high blood pressure, right? Yet profit share doesn't come with those prerequisites. So it's a really cool thing to dive into. And if you want to learn more about it and how you can really create a new stream of passive income, come talk to anybody on the leadership team, me or Ben, anybody. So West Ashley, I don't like when I'm number one. I'm number one because, I don't know, I like profit share. This is Mount Pleasant, Dewey leading the charge. Mike, I see him in there. Let's give all these individuals a hand. Way to go. Bill, I'm beating you. Cappers. Who capped? This is awesome. Dave, Josh, Kristen, Brian, Scott, and Amy. Let's give them a hand. And first closings with us. So the amazing Brian and team, they're back. Kylie, Crystal, and Stephanie. Let's give them all a hand. First closing with us. That was not any of the first closing thing, but first closing with us. Yeah, it's awesome. Welcome to the family. I'm not going to go through all these names, but they're all awesome people. And if you haven't met them, meet them. Let's give them a hand and welcome to the KW fold. Anybody on this list? Hey, how you doing? I've already met you. Say hello. I forgot your name already. Samantha, yes. Yes. Well, welcome to the family. Happy birthdays, Hannah. She was back there. Oops. Happy birthday, all these individuals. Let's give them a hand too. Anybody today? Nobody today. You don't have to sing. I know. Yeah, this is great. What's coming up? I'm done. See you.
Thanks. All right, so this is just the link to our Eventbrite, which has all of our the big classes that are coming up. So if you want to use that, we also have a bunch of QR codes coming up to every individual one. Vince was a little QR code happy on these, so he's like, add a QR code to this. Yeah, or he thought so. Maggie. You have a QR code. Everybody gets a QR code today. All right. Here you go.
I don't need that.
You do.
I don't.
It's
I'm
Zoom.
louder than any. The Zoom can hear me.
They can't. Yes.
No, I didn't agree to that.
Here you
I
go.
agreed to come here and read.
Put your
do my
blabbing.
book club. But I didn't agree to, let's see who's in here. Okay, so the following people cannot answer this question for the prize. Sorry. Camille, Joseph, probably Mike Green, but we'll let us pass. So who knows what this is? Ben. Okay. Yay! Who knows the origin of the shift book? Joseph? Shh. So in 2008, who was in real estate in 2008? Stand up. Mike, Joseph, Camille, Belinda. What happened in 2008? 7-8. Well, yes, that too. You should, that would have been good. That's why we're going to get that shirt. Shift happens. So Gary Keller is a brilliant foreseer of real estate trends. And at the time I was a team leader in Beaufort, I think. And we all of a sudden got this little box of these little black books. They were like this big. I tried to find them at home, but who knows where they are. Little black books, and there were 12 of them. And we were told to immediately start teaching our agents. Maybe I was at New Bern. These little black books, and they were called these like field guides, right? There was one for open houses, one for, eventually that's turned into this book. And Gary and Jay and Dave Jenks were at, the story is they were sitting at probably a restaurant, not a bar, with a napkin, and went, what are the 12 things our agents need right now? And they came through, so they came up with 12 tactics. So finally the shift book comes out, and we have all of these notes. Well, Gary and Dave and Tony DeCello went on tour and did a little shift tour. So I have a ton of notes from that. Who knows what Gary says shift stands for? Same people can't answer. All y'all should know because it was a question before and someone wrote the answer. So the acronym SHIFT means what, Camille? Correct. Come up here, Camille. You win the book. This is you didn't know? This is, there were maybe a couple cases of this black edition made, and I have a few at home. So next time when you see Gary taking, I'll sign it.
Thank you.
Anyway, all that to say, we have a book club going on currently, which we're restarting. When are we restarting it? That's 2 weeks from now. Oh, it's next week because it's going to be March this week. Who has all the business that they can handle right this minute today? Who's on track to meet or exceed their financial and personal goals for 2023 as of today? So everyone will come to the book club because we will take it one bite at a time, right? It's a lot. Who's read this book? If you don't have books, they have them at the office, right? And they're $10, $15. This is a wonderful opportunity. What? Free? Did we say free? We did not say free. I'm not that person. Sorry. I'll give away. I have some at home I'll bring and give away, but no. So this book club is an opportunity for us to mastermind what works and what doesn't. It's an opportunity for us to go through each tactic one at a time, more in depth with other people. Does everyone have a different perspective on, say, mindset? Can you imagine a time where you would be in a room with someone else who might have a different perspective on mindset that may help you show up 7 o'clock in the morning and get ready for your day to meet or exceed your family's financial goals? So there, I mean, it really should be full. It's a phenomenal book. There's nothing you need to do more right now than roll up your sleeves, get to work, and follow the models and systems in this book. Keller Williams has a lot of models, yeah? This is a really good one. So, who am I going to see? Training room in West Ashley. No, don't confuse them. It says the 8th.
We'll send it out.
Oh. We went from pushing it 1 week to pushing it a month. No. So Camille's been coming to the book club, and Kelly, and we've had a few, our mortgage lender came. So Camille, stand up, please. what have you taken from the first 3 or 4 weeks that we've been doing it?
Honestly, it's really good going over the whole book itself, because when you put yourself into what the book is saying, I'm learning just a lot. How to do your regeneration and stuff like that. We just finished regeneration, but I studied for it. But even though I get up and I know to make my phone calls, I still learn stuff that I wasn't doing. So it's just really good to be all over again. And it's fun to listen to other people, just get different ideas of what they got from the book. So I like it.
Thank you, Camille.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Even though I told her she couldn't answer before she came. Because I did tell her the answer a few weeks ago when we started the book club. So look, I've been in this business for 37 years. I'm at my desk right now, this time between 6:30 and 6:45 every single day. Because why? You have to do more. You have to push harder. You have to get the market share you gain, you'll never lose. And to gain the market share, we have to show up and go to work. So, Lynn? It's 12-1, and we haven't gone over at all. Well, we did break it up, the first reading session, into 2 because it's a lot to digest, and 1 hour. The book club was really written to do at night between 5 and 7, right? So it was longer. So now at lunchtime, we're doing it in 1 hour. So I have a drive. So once you sign up with my own QR code, then you'll get a link to the drive that will have the weekly assignments. And then at the end of every week, we have, if there's some extra handouts, we dump them in the drive so you can have those too. Questions? Comments? Okay, bye.
Thank you.
What's cool, I think there's 2 reasons that people buy, sell, or transact in real estate, right? Personal reasons and positive market expectations, and it's in that book. And with positive market expectations, is that kind of being removed during this time? Say yes. Yeah, that's a resounding yes, given the fact that in January the market was down. What was the market down in Charleston in January? 35% or something like that, right? We should know that. 35%, right? There are less homes being sold. And by the way, there are more agents, which is automatically going to do what? It's going to mean we're going to have to work a little bit harder to find the individuals that need to buy, sell, and transact in real estate. We'll show that shortly. But also in that book, and I think it's on page 24, there's a quote. It says, success is not about the chosen few. It's about the few that choose. And we have to get into action, right? Success is not about the chosen few. It's about the few that choose. And all of us are talented individuals, and we care about what we're building, and we care about the people that we're helping. And by learning these tactics, we can help more people and ultimately achieve our goals faster. And that's the goal. So go to this book club. It's going to be second to none. Sorry, I'm over here.
You're
talking.
good. I know.
Good
Always. Always. All right. So Wednesday the 8th, I know that we have a decent amount of people signed up already. We have the award ceremony. It will be at Alhambra Hall over there in Mount Pleasant. Please sign up. It'll be a good time. I think we're noon, right, Holly? Noon to 2. I think it's up there, somewhere around there. But we'd love to see each and every one of you there. QR code. Yeah, it'll be fun. The next thing we have, though, is your business is your database. That's going to be March 23rd with the Bold Coach of the Year, who happens to be our Bold Coach as well. So this gives you a good intro to who Tammy is, her teaching style. I think it's going to be a really good class. So sign up for this. If y'all need the QR code, it's up there.
By the way, in the month of March, we had 2 instructors coming to Charleston to talk to all of us, and each one of them was literally recognized by 180,000 people, right? And
Yeah.
it's the best that Bold coach in all of Keller Williams and the best technology trainer and mentor in all of Keller Williams. That's pretty epic.
Yeah.
Definitely sign up for your business as your database.
I'm gonna add to this too. Tammy, there's probably not anyone in front of me better than you about your business as your database. Not only is she a bowl coach, the reason she became a bowl coach was because of her continued production over the years. And she did it all actually as an individual agent and then a small team. She crushes it when it comes to lead generation on building relationships. And the family reunion panel talked about this morning about how the whole emphasis was on relationships more than anything else. Tammy is excellent at it, so definitely sign up to come. It's also, let's just be honest, it's a good preview of who your bold coach is going to be. So those of you that are going to be coming to First Step to Bold, still trying to decide if you want to move forward with Bold fully, this will be a great preview for it.
Awesome. Thank you. No. Yep.
That's just building database.
Bold starts April 4th. So it just happens to be our bold coach who's teaching both of these. So our bold coach is Tammy as well. And she's also teaching your business as your database. If that makes sense. So this will be the first step to bold. The first step to bold is free. That's on April 4th. After that, you'll decide if you want to partake in bold. I really think you should. I think the last time we've had it in person is 2019. We've had a lot of people asking for bold. So take advantage of this. We have the bold coach of the year. So I don't think we could ask for anything.
So who knows what bold is? Awesome. A few, right? Stands for Business Objective Life by Design, right? So there was a lot of conversation at family reunion just about life on autopilot. Anybody wake up and be like, I feel like this is like Groundhog's Day, right? We're just on autopilot. We're just going through. Bold really helps us, number one, get our mindset right. And by the way, the shift book, what's the very first tactic? Get real, get right. Get real, get right, right? So bold helps us get our mindset right, because if we believe we can do something, we can do it. If we believe we can't, chances of it happening are slim to none, right? And it also then helps us really get purposeful about the planning of our business and the action in our business. It is an awesome investment, and she's averaging more. Tammy is averaging her agents in her class are averaging more than 10 transactions written through that 8-week period. That's a massive return on your investment, right? So get into bold, sign up, at the very least, show up the first step, and watch how your mind can be exploded by the possibilities for your business. So it's a really great opportunity.
Awesome. And then Sydney already spoke about this, but this is the shift into overdrive, in action. And that's March 30th, 9 to 11:30. So you'll see that QR code right there. It'll take you right to it.
All right. So we've got 10 minutes. I'm going to take us through something real quick. So here's what we're going to do. There's a lot of conversation around shift, right? I've never heard that it stands for selling homes in fierce times. That's pretty cool. Market was down in January of 35% or whatever it is, right? In last year to date, it was down in 2022, 19%. I'm not the real estate agent here. Help me out. How much was the market down in Charleston last year? 19%, I think, right? So, by the way, if you don't have easy access to those numbers and know how to get them on the MLS, sign up for Doug Holmes. It's $12, $10, $12, something like that a month. Doug Holmes will send you an email every week that shows you the weekly contingents, right? And it also shows you that he puts a newsletter together of market stats, the whole 9 yards. It's where I get majority of my information, right? It's quick, it's to the point, it's awesome. All about the Charleston market. So there's just all this conversation and shit. When we hear that the market's down 20% or in the month of January down 30-some%, what are the feelings that we get? Fear. It's like, oh shit. Like, oh boy, I just cursed. Oh boy, right? So shift. That's what I said, right? Thank you. That's okay, right? And that's a reaction, that's an emotion. And what really is a shift? I heard it the other day, a while back. A shift is simply money changing hands in a different place than it did before. And there are three things that we have to do to make money in any market, in anything really, right? We have to put ourselves where money is changing hands. We have to do what nobody else in the world wants to do in that space and be the very best at it. And then number three, we have to leverage our strengths, right? So from the standpoint of, if I understand that there are two reasons that people buy, sell, and invest in real estate, I said them earlier, they're in the shift book. What were they? Positive market expectations and personal reasons, right? So one of them is removed, which automatically is going to make that buyer seller pool a little smaller, and that's okay. Which means I have to go and find where now the money is changing hands. So in a shifting market, I'm going to draw this up. Got a pen? Black will do. So is that a shift? There you go. That's a shift, right? And we always talk in terms of up and down, or peaks and troughs. Automatically, what feeling do we get when we hear up or we hear down and we're talking about a market? Up is good. Bad is down. Okay. Bad is down. Or go. Down is bad, right? Can't even speak. So up is good. Down is bad. So keep those emotions for a sec. So we know that in an up market, right, there are certain types of buyers. What kind of buyers do we typically see? Buyers or sellers in an up market, in a good market like we had over the last 5 years. Typically see maybe second homes, right? What else? Who else is buying during those times? People that investments, yeah, they're probably in all of them, right? There might be some investors. There might be people that are just moving because they can, right? And they want a bigger house. In a down market in 2008, for those that were in the business, did anybody do a lot of short sales? No? Yeah, there were tons of short sales, right? In 2008, there were foreclosures, there were REOs, bank-owned properties. There were some cash buyers, right? Maybe investors that came in, right? Now, in any market, right? Now think personal reasons. These are market expectation buyers. In any market, are there people getting married? Are there people having babies? Unfortunately, there's people getting divorced, right? There's people getting, yeah, they're getting dead. That's bad. Yeah, they're dying, right? Are people moving because of a job? Thank you, Camille. There's people relocating because of jobs, right? There's a ton of individuals that always have to buy, sell, or invest in real estate in this particular buyer and seller pool, right? So if I was to take this, let's get rid of this, put it over here. And I was to take this here, and I just turned it like this, right? And I just looked at it from right to left or left to right. Now, all I have to do from a business owner perspective is I have to do those three things. I have to identify where money is changing hands. I have to do what nobody else wants to do in that space and be the very best in the world at it. And I have to leverage my strengths, which differentiates me from my competition or my competitors, or however you want to put it, everybody else. And I just have to move side to side. The small change in our thinking around what a shift means from good and bad to just right and left, or is what it is, go find them and go help them, is a massive, massive change that when we make it, helps us get, when we make it, helps us get into action faster. So I would encourage you, number one, go to the Shift book club, because it is actionable tactics that you can implement right now to change your business and change those feelings that you have. By the way, when Maggie asked how many people are on track for their goals, there weren't a lot of hands. There ain't no judgment. It just is what it is. Like, that's just the fact. Yet if you don't like that fact, then that number two thing, we have to change our identity. We have to change our actions, right? Number one, we change our thinking. This is a good first step. Change our thinking about what the shift is. It does not have to be scary. It's just money changing hands in a different place than it did before. But guess what? I want to help a lot of people, which means, and I have two legs. So I can just walk to where they're changing hands now, where the money's changing hands now. I just have to identify it. It's no longer up, down, good, bad. It's just right and left. Does this help? Does this make sense? So go to the Shift Book Club. It'll be awesome. Awesome. Any ahas from the whole day? None. Give me one. Sydney, yeah. And 24 hours is the great equalizer, right? How are we investing our time every day? Not spending our time. The word spend automatically means lost. How are we investing our time, right? And am I proud of the investment that I made yesterday? Because that's time. We don't get it back. My dad used to always say to us almost every time I'm on the phone with him, he'll say, all right, it's February 27th, 2023. You're not going to get this day back. Make it the best one yet. Right? Because you're not going to get it back. Shakim, did you have something? Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Yep. I love it. It's awesome. And market share that you take during a shifting market, it's market share that you don't ever give up, right? Because you helped somebody in a time that was uncertain really hard. Would you have something?
Yeah, it was from family reunion. Shakima kind of hit on it, but they said it's not lack of leads, it's lack of effort.
Yeah. So we'll leave you with this. This is from Ed Milet. He was talking a lot about greatness, and Trad touched on it, but he was talking about greatness. And he said, greatness is a depth perception issue. He says, you think it's further away than it is. You just create a story to stop yourself from chasing it. Right? So if you want to be great, it's not about the fact that, oh, it's so hard or it's so far. Look, hard things are going to be hard. Good things are hard. Honestly, life is just hard. It's okay, but we have a choice and then a decision to make as to how we approach that hard, right? Because hard is just a label, just like up, down, good, bad is just a label, right? Yet we all have the potential and we all have the ability to be great. We already are, but we see it as so far away when it's not. It's just one step at a time in front of us. So I would encourage everybody to just figure out what is the next step. And it's probably around creating more awesome relationships, and just take the step, one small step at a time, and one small action leads up to really big, great results. So I'm truly humbled to be in business with each and every one of you. I know the leadership teams can say the same. If you need anything, you can always call, text, email me. The leadership team, we're always here to help, and let's go crush the day and make it a great week. Thank you so much.